So today I wanted to give you just a quick update on what the basement grow is looking like. As you can see, the original grow shelf has been vacated and we have upgraded to a much taller actual 4-foot wide shelf, which is fitting everything quite nicely. Once the plants have gone from the seedling tray into their 4-inch pots, I was transferring them onto these custom-made sort of bottom sheets so that the water doesn't leak through the shelf. And on the dual rack, it was just getting too clustered, and it was getting very difficult to water all the different plants. So now with this 4-foot rack, it makes it much easier to access all of the 4-inch pots from both sides of the rack, also just space in the basement. And it allows things to be a little bit more spread out, and we have a little bit of extra height. As you can see, the dill is still touching the lights, but over on the smaller shelf, it was almost growing through the shelf, so it needed an upgrade. On the small shelf, because it was a box, it was 2 shelves stacked beside each other, it was very difficult to water the rear part and the plants that were most in the middle. I'm just using like a 4-liter container that I poke some holes in the top to water the plants, so if I need to water I can just water like this. But it was very difficult to get this container all the way down into the middle. So I'm still going to use this rack. It is still very useful. The light system here is still very beneficial, but what I'm going to be using it for is strictly for seedling trays. So right now I have some tomatoes, kale, and peppers germinating. Planted those at the end of March. So once these start to sprout, they'll go down on the sort of lower germination tables, and it's much easier to access these entire trays once they're down on these racks. It's a little more difficult to access the individual pots. So having these individual pots on the actual racks makes it much easier to water, and it looks nicer. Speaking of looks, I did get all of the lighting and everything set up on different timers. I also have the fan. I have a fan on the lower rack on the more full-grown plants. Everything's on a timer right now. I have one more timer spot. Just bought a pack of 4 off of Amazon. So that'll be used for potentially another fan or some other element of the basement grow that we need on a timer. And these are really nice. They were like $30 off Amazon, and they come with a really handy app, and I can set timers, control it from anywhere. It's really nice. On this grow rack, currently we have cilantro and parsley. These were recently transplanted about 2 weeks ago, and then you can see these much smaller ones. These were transplanted about 1 week ago. Then I have a bunch of cucumbers, 2 different kinds of cucumbers here. The leaves were going just a little bit yellow because I think I overwatered them when I initially transplanted them, but the new leaves that are sprouting are looking very nice, so I'm not too concerned there. I'm letting them dry out just a touch before I re-water these guys. We have all our garlic chives, which are growing quite nicely actually, and sending up quite a few new shoots. You can see even these ones where there's that little hoop. That little hoop is new shoots. So a lot of these are starting to sprout new shoots, which is great. The failed aspect of the project was our rosemary. I'm going to try and plant some more, but I only ended up getting 3 small planters of rosemary out of 36 attempts. So I'm going to try to grow rosemary again. That was our one fail, but definitely a learning opportunity. Then we have a lot of thyme. Thyme is on our side. Thyme's looking great. This stuff's growing really quickly. This really bushy stuff, this is 2 weeks ago, and this was transplanted just 1 week ago, the smaller stuff. So you can see the difference between 2 weeks and 1 week. It's amazing once you give them a little more soil, a little more nutrient, a little more space to grow, how quickly they'll grow. And then some more basil plants. Really enjoy the scent of this basil. I did buy 2 more different varieties of basil just to try them out. So this is supposed to be a sweet basil, and if you pinch the leaf and give it a quick smell. It's really nice. It's going to be excellent on pizzas and salads and whatnot. But I wanted to give a couple other varieties of basil a try, so those will be coming up shortly. We have even more dill. So the dill has been growing just like a weed. I mean, dill is known to grow very quickly, but I'm coming to realize that even more now. It smells amazing, and I've actually used the full-grown dill on the lower shelf quite a bit already, and it's just amazing. So you can see some of these dill plants, like they're already growing taller than the shelf, but they are still able to get quite a bit of light, so they are still growing quite well. The top shoots are still very fluffy and very aromatic, so when I harvest this for salads or to put on some salmon or something like that, it's still very aromatic and very delicious. We have our peppers. These were the peppers that were grown just from the seeds of a pepper from the grocery store. It was a fun little experiment. These were from an orange pepper, so I'm curious to see if they grow good peppers. But they are growing quite well. They have really good foliage, really strong stems on all these peppers, so that's really great. We do have some peppers growing from seed that I purchased, red and green peppers. Those were just planted, so we'll see how those go. And then we have some parsley. This stuff is extremely aromatic. Like if I pinch this leaf here and just give that a smell, wow, amazing. And then our full-grown basil plants. These were our very first attempts at basil. Did a lot of learning on these. I need to pinch them off more. So you can see I kind of pinched off the main stem right in the bottom there, and then it shot out these two side shoots, and now it's getting much more bushy. So I need to do that more often. Pinch that central stem, let it grow a bit, pinch it again, and let it get incredibly bushy. But the basils are overall doing quite well. Overall, the shelf is growing really great. I've had it in operation for just a couple days now, but I've really been enjoying it. I was able to actually get the shelf used on Kijiji, which was great, so saved a lot of money there. And I bought more of those 4-foot lights because I knew I was going to use them. So overall, I think this shelf ended up costing only, I think, $300 for everything. So that's not bad at all. And then I just have to maintain the water and everything else, and can grow all of this fresh herbs. And I do still have quite a bit of space, so down in the lower parts here I can probably take an entire seedling tray just in this small area. The lower rack is still very spread out, so there's a lot of room down there. And the mid rack, there's a little bit of room. They're a little bit spread out. My wife helped me organize these, so of course they're nice and modular and very organized. But as soon as we start growing a little bit more, I can probably fit about 10 more plants on that row. The top row can probably take a few extra plants as well, and I may need to displace my wife's succulents, but that'll be a hard-fought battle. So I don't think I'll try. We'll just leave the succulents there and take up those few spots. That's no problem at all. The last little bit I wanted to talk about with the new shelf is I figured out that if I want to hang the carabiners for adjustments of the lights directly from the shelf right above where the light was, there's a lot of space, like dead space, that you can't utilize. Like this light is as high as it's going to go, and that's probably 6 inches away from the top. So what I ended up doing is, you can see there's another carabiner here. This carabiner is on the uppermost shelf, and it goes all the way down to support the lights on the shelf below. This way I can raise these lights all the way up to the top, and I cut little slits in the little rack that holds the water here, so that the cabling can come all the way up through. And now I can virtually get that light all the way up to the top. So I gain quite a bit of space there by supporting the lights from the shelf above. So I've done that on everything here. So these carabiners here support the lights on this shelf, and then the carabiners on the same shelf support the lights just below. This way I can get the maximum sort of height. This lower rack is already at the highest possible setting. I might be able to get a little bit more space by removing the actual clip and connecting it directly to the spring, just like I did on the top row. Just like this, I removed the clip and connected it directly to the light to get rid of that extra 2 inches from the carabiner clip. So if I need to do that on any of these racks, I can. I just kept the carabiners on these ones just for convenience sake, and I wasn't in a dire urgency for the extra vertical space. The bottom may need it just because the dill plants, but that's something that we'll look into in the coming weeks. All right, well, thanks for watching, everybody, and as always, keep growing.